We're going to call the meeting to order now.
Caregiver for a
Please.
year, and I realized that I needed more engagement.
Allow me to welcome all of you and everyone. This is a regular board meeting of the North Oakland Transportation Authority. Today is Thursday, October 19th, 2033, and we appreciate Oxford Township for hosting us due to the construction that's been happening at the NODA facility. So with that, I will ask for a roll call
Sure.
for board members.
McDonald,
Here.
Brakefield, Van Portfleet is excused. Flood,
Here.
Wapple is excused. Curtis.
Here.
Borjo said she's going to be arriving late.
No,
Oh, she won't be able to.
Joe
Okay.
will be
Oh,
spent.
Joe. Okay, Joe. All right. Joe. Pearson.
Here.
Payne.
Here.
Couch. Here. And Barnett is excused. Okay.
All right. So we do have representation from the majority of our communities, members. So we'll move on. I'd like to,
Carl was gonna.
okay,
Oh, Carl.
great.
Great.
I'm here.
Great.
Thank you,
Hi,
Carl.
Carl.
So we're all represented
Yes.
with that.
I can grab a seat for you. Oh, he's got one.
Okay. I'd also like to introduce Eli Cooper from Oakland County Transit, the
I'm looking for that guy.
manager, yeah, well, better you than me, Eli. And we have two guests from PYP Enterprises, I assume?
Yeah, the next door neighbors.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we'll give you an opportunity in a little bit, Eli. But meanwhile, we'll proceed with our regular business, which would be next be respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stay standing.
Okay. The board members have received the board package and had a chance to review the agenda. Are there any, well, we had two agendas. We had the first one and then we had a revised one. So it should include under new business C and D under number 2 of that.
This is, one and two.
Yeah.
Oh, the parking lot, yeah.
I move
Okay.
to approve the agenda as presented.
Got a
We don't
question.
have that one.
Oh,
You're
here.
saying C and D?
Yeah, right here. Lid's got it.
Okay, C and D, I've got it. Okay,
Down here?
you don't.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, here, this
What's
one.
the second one?
Okay.
Margie, who seconded your motion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. The board received the minutes of our last regular meeting. Are there any questions, changes, or corrections? That was on September 21st.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes as submitted for the September 21st meeting.
Support. I have Mr. Flood and Mr. Sarowski.
Oh, Sarowski, all right.
Any question on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Next, we have the director's report. Lynn?
Do we want to receive and file, or would you like to?
Would the council waive a reading?
I think we did that last time. I'd like to make a motion, we receive and file today.
Second.
Okay. Next item is public comments. There being no public unless you gentlemen you're on the agenda, so hearing none, we'll move on. Hearing none, we'll move on to our approval of financial activity and payment of the bills.
I
What-
move to receive and file the financial reports.
I'll support that.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the financial activity. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Moving on to the approval of the bills.
I move to approve the bills in the amount of $296,872.70.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bills for the month of September. Any questions on the motion? Could we have a roll call in for approval?
Sure. McDonald?
Yes.
Brakefield?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Madore? Curtis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Couch?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on then to old business, we have none, so we'll move on to the next item, which is new business. And that would be, the first would be the PYP Ventures, who are the tenants of the other side of the NOTA facility. We received some communications from the Village of Oxford on this, on some of the activities, and shall we allow them to speak at this time and then
Sure.
present your request, or?
Yeah, glad to, thanks everyone for having us. Don, Eli, we're the next door neighbors. For way of introduction, we manufacture and distribute pet fences throughout the USA. So, obviously, there's been a lot going on with the construction, which has caused some stockpile of some, I guess for lack of a better term, garbage of just unused material, wooden pallets, which normally would not be there. So what we want to do is, obviously, you are all investing a lot of time, energy, and money into creating a very beautiful parking lot facility, and we want to make sure that we don't have any eyesores for you guys. So what we want to recommend doing, A, all that stuff's going to be moved, and a lot of it's going to be thrown out once there's actually gravel or ground, so we can drive and get trucks and get that stuff out. But B is, we actually want to put on the side of our building, essentially between our building and 625 Glassby, the next door neighbors, we wanted to put two storage containers that are fully closed and brand new and painted, so we can begin to put things to the side of the building and neatly stack them and store them, so they're not an eyesore and they're not in the way of your vehicles. So that was, I believe, the main request why we were here today, and glad to speak about it as needed. And of course, I guess I'd add, we'd be outfitting and paying for all the expenses ourselves. We wouldn't be asking for any budget or anything.
And then you wanted the two storage containers side by side, they're 40 foot, right? So
Yeah, they're
80
20 foot each, so combined they're 40 foot.
And then you wanted an area in front of those so you can take your high-low, so it would be like the crushed concrete or something that you
So,
would be putting down?
yeah, we were thinking of, and
We were imagining, yeah, taking the existing bridge we kind of built into Steve's parking lot, the Tech owner, and repurposing that as the foundation and then putting a concrete pad on top of it, which might require some work with the city, but we would take care of all that. We wouldn't, obviously we'll bring you everything for approval and such, but we wouldn't bother you with our administrative work. And that way we could back the high-low in and out. We just had to get it repaired. The backfill well was damaged from driving on the gravel, so I don't think a permanent solution for us would be driving it on uneven ground.
well, the concern too is in the winter. If it snows, it's hard to snow
Yeah,
plow
in and
the
out,
gravel. So we just thought of that recently. We're like,
So
oh,
it'd
we
be
should
a
probably put something.
cleaner finish with a concrete pad that we would pour in front of the two to give us 6 or 8 feet of clearance to now, and obviously we can keep it clear of snow.
Got a
Okay,
question.
thank you. I guess yes. Mr. Mitchell.
Seen time my code officers went and wrote the letter to him. I will opine a little bit. We don't see much of an issue with their plan there. Industrial zoning does allow for outdoor storage. I think that one issue that our code officer took up was it looked more like a debris field than outdoor storage. So I think that was really the only issue. We have a 0 setback from building to building in the industrial zone, so they don't have to worry about if their containers are too close to the line. That's not a problem. And then there may be a permit required for the slab. I'm not sure. Check on that. That's not very simple. And you being a building owner, we would probably even waive that permit if you, the owner, applied for it. If it was in permit fee.
You would request that it be waived?
Yes.
Okay,
That approval would come to me.
all right. Mr. Pearson?
Yeah, is this just waste that you're trying to get rid of, or is that something that you use over and over again to ship stuff back
Yeah,
out?
it's about 30% waste, 70% is pallets that we put freight shipments on. and
You
distribute.
save the pallets?
Yeah,
Those ones in particular that you're looking at on that exhibit are, those we use daily for freight shipping. We do have, and I think this is
Yeah,
what the
that stuff's the
inspector
garbage on
noted.
the
That's the garbage, the box type
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, the 48, the 4x4 foot pallets that are sort of in the alley right now that have been taken from the parking lot when it was torn up and moved. A lot of those are gonna end up going to, there's a biomass plant, we're gonna put them in a trailer and haul them up there and dump them there because they can burn them.
and we actually acquired this business in June 1st of last year. And if everybody remembers the back area, when we took over, before we did the construction, there was a lot of trees. And what we discovered as we were getting everything out to prepare for the construction job, that there was a lot of waste that's just been sitting there, was sitting there for years. So a lot of that garbage and pallets, we had gotten everything out. We brought a bunch of big dump trucks in to get a lot of this stuff out, but there were still a few leftover pieces that are now kind of stranded until we get a street put down to get them out. And then the goal would be to also, we're gonna talk next door with the next door neighbor at 625,
Yeah.
cause he owns a metal business. And we do have some scrap and some metal waste that we wanna work with him to see if we can have a pickup, work with him, and of course we pay for that with him, and we would just bring our waste, our metal scrap waste to him, so it's constantly being thrown out and taken out actually through the side,
Yeah.
through the little bridge we made versus going out through the.
That'd eliminate the need for any additional like metal recycling dumpsters or anything like that, because I know our dumpster pad is, you know, it is the size that it is. We don't want to crowd that area either.
So the only thing I wanted to make clear is that this is part of you doing business, so you use those pallets to ship stuff and bring stuff in. It's not just that
Correct.
you're done with them and you're leaving them there.
Correct,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So those get used inside and then they get picked up via semi-trucks, after supplies are put on them.
Okay.
Mr. Brakefield?
I have a couple of questions. Okay, now, and this would be to Lynn. Where was the storage of these pallets before the construction started?
It's been kind of on the side, there was like a line of trees that we
Yeah.
cleared out, so it was kind of, and we never really went back there prior to this. We, you know, now that we're gonna be having a fuel tank back there, we're gonna be using it, you know, we've got it well lit, and so it's a whole different use of that property right now, so we are gonna definitely be going back there. We did clear out all the trees between, our north, neighbor, in the back there, and, cause he wanted us to kind of clear them out. It does look a lot cleaner. It was a lot of garbage back there. So it's kind of, that's kind of the general area where they were, and there's some on the other side too. I don't know what garbage, there's some garbage on the other side that's, on the south side.
Steel scrap that we couldn't get the high-low to give it back for an arm.
So yeah, nothing would ever be over there, that stuff, once we get the street, cause it's heavy steel
Yeah, we
posts.
won't
Right.
be using the left-hand side at all.
And what about your business? How is your business? Isn't it expanding right now? I mean, you guys have been booming, and I'm not sure how long you anticipate really being in this building. Are you guys kind of like, it sounds like your business is growing, and I'm wondering, like, long-term, what is
Yeah,
your
so,
future?
I mean, I guess I'll speak first, so you can add in, but, our plan is to have sustainable growth, if you will, so we're trying to grow 20 to 30% year over year. It's part of our, I guess, investment thesis when we acquired the company. Right now, we do have space to continue to grow within the warehouse, but if we continue to grow on our growth trajectory, then eventually we would be looking to either build a warehouse, or move. The unfortunate situation is we've actually spent a lot of time looking, and for our purpose, our use, we really appreciate and have the need for 25-foot ceilings and, you know, basically just storage space, because we have pallet racking, if anybody's ever been inside of our side of the building, and we store metal supplies vertically up 25 feet into the air, and then we bring it down and we ship it as needed. So we haven't been able to really find any similar space in today's market at any reasonable rates that aren't 10% mortgage.
Or
commercial
far
mortgage.
away,
Yeah.
which would be too far for our staff and things like that. You know, we've got
So
a team of 5.
I guess to try to put a timeline on your question, if we continue to grow the way we are, you know, 2 to 4 years, we'd definitely be out of there, given space if we continue our growth trajectory that we're on.
Right, because you would express some interest in our building, purchasing the whole building,
Yes.
right, from us. And I know that you were working with Carl, I think, who's on
Yeah.
our board, also trying to find property
Correct.
that might suit your needs more, because you were kind of looking at 20,000 square feet and more, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, we have two, this is kind of a nuance that I don't know that many of you will care about, but we have two parts of our business. One's a fabrication, so we do this sort of light assembly of enclosures, which is the freight shipping portion of our business. That doesn't require nearly as much, you don't need racks of space for that. So for us, the NODA building is perfect because we would move that entire operation to the front of the warehouse, and then we would open up another 30–40% space. We could grow there for years.
Yeah, I think when we were speaking with you, if there was interest to acquire the entire building, it was because that was a perfect building for us to spend the next 10 years growing into, versus like immediate need today.
Right. Yeah, now the thing with the lease agreement that you currently have, you're occupying the building itself is what you're paid for, is not the outside of the building or the land, so you've got access to use the building and then just parking spots right now, so that extra space has not really been built into the current lease agreement?
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Oh.
That was my next question. We're in the lease agreement. Did
Right.
it cover this
Right.
outside storage?
Yeah, it does not, so.
I'd like to ask a more base question, and that is, you got a notice to clean up. We got a copy of it.
Yeah.
You really haven't done anything to eliminate any of that waste since that letter. And you're talking to a table full of municipal officials that we always hear, it's gonna get better, we're gonna do good, we're gonna live up to our commitments, and I don't see it.
So I did call the inspector, and I spoke to his, it wasn't Dan who I spoke to the very nice woman at the front desk. And I explained to her the situation. I think on the letter it stated October 11th or something
Right,
thereabout.
it was.
So he'd like to see it all cleared out. I called him and explained the situation. I said, look, there's delays with the parking lot, we don't own the building, we aren't the guys who pour the asphalt, we can't control their day-to-day responsibilities and completing their work. But I assured him, or I assured her, and I said, please pass on the message that once that work was completed, we'll have full access, we can get our equipment in and out. We can get we already paid for 3 30-yard dumpsters to come in to clear out debris beforehand, and then the parking lot was gone, and that wasn't an option anymore, and that's fine. So once it's complete, yeah, we'll have full access, we'll get everything totally cleaned up. We're tidy guys, you can go in the warehouse, you see that. And he called me back and assured me that wasn't an issue. He said, look, I'm looking for progress. He said that deadline was somewhat artificial, that he was just trying to make sure that progress was happening, and I assured him that Lynn is working super hard to get the parking lot complete, and at that point, we'll be full access, completely able to get our work done.
Yeah, I think our main issue is that it's an active construction zone with no roads.
And
And
an apparent no storage? Not enough storage?
At the time, yeah, because our typical storage arrangement was we just put the pallets behind our building, right, where our loading doors, where we have FedEx, UPS, freight trucks coming in and out every day, that's where we would typically keep all that stuff. Right now, it's been piled up to the side. We can't get to it
Oh,
with our
I think we understand that.
yeah,
Right,
for-
right.
I think since the prior owners took over the lease in 2018, they've had pallets and storage out there since day one.
We don't have your growth guideline or tracking, but it's a considerable amount of material. Do you need to have that much material on hand all the time
Yeah,
outside?
That's a good question and good point. So what we've done is our pallet company, they don't have, we spoke with them, we told them, look, we can't right now fit that many inside our warehouse. So we basically are buying 50 at a time, which gets us through, a month or a few weeks, whatever. And that's plenty for now. And they're fine with that. So we don't have to store, that's about 200 pallets. We don't need to store.
And a lot of that is stuff that's gonna be instantly thrown out too. So a lot of the pallets that you can actually see from the street, that
Yeah.
are like the smaller pallets, those are from essentially shipment receipts that the freight companies have kind of just like left there and said, this is your garbage to go with, but we don't have anything, or So a lot of that, like 50% of that's gonna be instantly thrown out, and then the goal with the containers would be to have the actual not necessarily permanent, but the pallets that we use to be neatly stored inside and perhaps put on top, depending on how many there are, tucked off to the side within the storage unit.
So that storage area would become a nice, neat area where we can, stay out of the way of your guys' operation and, not have anything unsightly.
Mr. Curtis? Oh, I'm sorry, Margie. I didn't see your hand.
Oh, that's right.
Saw
Go
his
ahead.
first.
Get yours.
Well, since he committed to it, and I'm gonna address it. Number one, your lease square footage, how much is the building leased?
10,000 square
So you're
feet.
gonna add over 800 square foot of storage in a parking lot where you're gonna push snow.
It's gonna be in the grass area.
Well,
Oh.
you're gonna push the snow into the grass, you're not gonna push it in the
Oh,
parking.
got it.
Number
Oh,
one.
Oh.
Number two, you're gonna stack stuff on top of them. Okay?
No, that,
That was an error on his part for saying that, because I don't know what the village ordinance is, but that happens a lot of places, and that's against our ordinance.
Yep.
The container is the container, and I know this is gonna happen, this stuff's gonna start growing taller. So you're not getting the value lease of approximately 800 more square feet. You're losing 800 square feet of snow removal placement. You're susceptible to stacking stuff on top of the pallets, which I don't, on top of the containers, which I don't think the village ordinance would allow. So your rent is including only the inside portion of the building and some parking. You almost have to redo the lease here if you're gonna allow more square footage and lose parking areas that are valuable to you and snow piling, if you will, in a grassy area. So I am really against this for the main reason of, I've seen it happen. We have it in our township where we have to go out there until these guys get, this stuff gets to be 30, 40 foot tall. Then it becomes a danger in the wind. I mean, it's that tall. So 5 feet, whatever it is, it's on top. I didn't say it, somebody else did, so I disagree with that proposal.
So if I may, I think our goal is to make this work. We're on the same team as everybody here. I didn't know you weren't allowed to stack things. If that's a law and that's a rule, that's a rule. And for what it's worth, the space that we're proposing to use is nowhere near the parking lot. It's dead space between the two buildings that is grassed today as well. So it wouldn't be taking up any space. It's not near the parking lot at all. I don't know if anybody's, if there's pictures of it there, but there's no use of it.
It'd be in this back area against the
Yeah.
building here.
It's actually between
Still
the-
square footage
It
that
is
we're
square
not
footage.
paying rent on.
Yep.
And it just becomes a nightmare for you later on. My 1 cent.
okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have a comment, want to say anything? Either way? I'm, as chair and as part of the landlord, I'm going to say it straight out. It's disrespectful to treat our property that way. I know it started before you. You came in. It remained. It got worse until we had to clean it up. You're storing material outside that is technically not even your leased property, whether it's got containers or pallets on it. And I'm gonna say you did it without our knowledge, because believe me, any one of us sitting here that's in the municipal capacity pretty much knows how rules and regulations work, and Joe as much as any. So we're not trying to disrespect you by bringing this up, but you're asking for an awful lot and really only offering what should be existing already. And that is a nice, neat facility. We spend a lot of money not only on the project, but on landscaping and trying to make the facility look nice and be good for our employees, and tenants. So, I think Mr. Curtis brings up an excellent point, and that is that you want more, but we're not really getting anything in return. So that's my opinion, and I'll put it back to the board. Yes, Margie?
I think we have to remember that when we negotiated the new lease program that we negotiated the price down somewhat from where we had started. So we have to also remember that as well, and they're asking for more space. So that's something to tuck in there too.
If I may,
Sure.
so the price actually went up and there's kickers every year.
Yes, it did go up, but we started at a much higher
Gotcha.
point.
So that was
from
the prior
at least.
owner.
Yes.
Like my account wasn't with us.
Yes.
And it was still quite a reasonable amount. Joe?
Was.
So, to your points about the past practice, so you've been there a little year and a half-ish, not quite?
Year and a quarter.
As far, right,
Yeah.
of you taking over, and this was, the previous tenant or operator stored outside?
Yes, it's standard procedure.
Yeah.
As far as we
So,
understand.
and maybe it just never came to light, I guess, because of, you guys didn't use the area.
Right.
So really,
The
that's kind
trees.
of what's brought this to
During the
light,
trees,
is it's
right.
kind of it's past practice, so to speak, but now it's risen up, right, hitting the radar? Because it was never on our radar.
Existing non-conformance.
Well, yeah, again, and we allow outside storage. I think there's a couple of caveats in there about if it's gonna be stored, it needs to be fencing or something to allow it to be not seen from the road. So seen from the road is about the standard that we have.
Gotta be screened.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Mr. Pearson?
I just have one more question. Can you clean this up? And the pallets, I mean, pallets are pallets. You can't fit the pallets inside your place there. I mean, if you're only doing 50 at a time, you can't find a spot to put 50 pallets inside.
We have about 100 inside right now. Actually, I'd say that stack has been since removed. Most of that's inside right now. We did
Can you-
the
can you-
construction company, they have a tractor forklift, they picked it up and brought it to our door so we could get access to it.
I mean, can you just clean this up and have it out of there?
Once
So-
the parking lot's complete,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
our plan has been to clean that up, and we're not trying to be disrespectful, there's no street. We wanna drop a garbage container bin for a day to throw all that out, and we pay for the service to have
Yeah.
somebody pick
It
it
would
up.
inhibit the progress of the paving for us to bring in a
And
30-yard dumpster.
unless that's okay with the current dirt road, if you guys are okay with us dropping a dumpster there for the day to clean it out. But we're not, with all due respect, we're not trying to be disrespectful, this is.
My issue is if you clean it all up and adhere to how the lease was, I'm fine with that. But I mean, if you wanna put more stuff outside here, I think you're hearing what people are saying is that that we never negotiated that with you to have tons of outdoor storage.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if you're saying for the time period, you can clean that out and you can still operate without all that junk outside, I think then you adhered to the lease.
Well, we've always had some outdoor storage for pallets, because it takes, when we get containers in, we're stuffed to the brim, we don't have room for pallets. So right now, we're fortunate to be at a low point in our inventory, because our summer season's gone through, we still put a lot of our inventory, we have space inside to move pallets inside. Typically, we store them outside, because usually our warehouses, we're trying to fill racks with.
But if you're saying they're only bringing 50 at a time, you can start.
Yeah, I believe, if
you
they're
can
bringing
put
50 at a time.
inside, not a
100%.
problem.
Yeah, that is well over 50, that's.
You know,
100%.
if you own the building, I know you could put those out front and put free on them, and they'd all be gone. I mean, But we don't want that in our facility here, but maybe you could have those removed and go put them someplace, and I know somebody would take them all,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, we have actually, we were gonna talk to either we'll take care of them, or we were gonna offer them back to our pallet manufacturer. And say, you can have them, they're all, most of them are damaged, if you
Well-
can fix them up, resell them if you want.
in my opinion, you need to, I don't think we wanna see all this stuff here, and I
Sure.
think if you can adhere to the lease, that's one thing, but if you're asking for more, I think you're hearing the comments
Yeah.
that
And
everybody's
our intent-
saying.
We're not trying to demand anything. If you guys are open to allowing us to use 600, 800 more square feet, and you wanna charge us more dollars to do that in our lease, that's the first we're hearing that, that's fine. We're happy to have that discussion. If you're saying, no, absolutely not, I mean, that's also your decision as well. We're just here to have the discussion.
Mr. Curtis?
Yeah, what's the size of the trailers you wanna put out there, the containers, I should say,
They're 20 feet long by 8 feet deep.
and 8 foot high, or 9 foot high?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that you'll end up with 40 feet
Yes, sir.
by 8. Is that what you, yeah, correct? So you're
That
gonna
would be
have-
correct.
Yeah, I believe it's about 8 feet deep.
So you're gonna have about 3,200 square feet more.
320.
Is that correct?
Well, 640 for
What is it?
containers, 20 by,
No,
20 by 8?
he's getting the 20-foot containers. They're 160 square feet inside.
Yeah, so 120 square.
Yeah,
You're not going
sorry,
cube
320.
feet, because
Yeah,
then you'd
okay,
have to go
yeah.
8 by 8 by,
right. We're not talking cubic, right?
just square feet alone, he's
Okay.
320.
Just
Ed?
got another question.
Oh. Margie, you had your hand up first.
Oh,
did you?
Margie, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
did.
I thought you
I've got a
did.
question. You,
Jack did.
you received a letter, we received the letter September the 28th, was that it? From Oxford? September the 28th, to move this pile. Okay, how much of that pile is gone now?
They can't get in there.
You can walk it,
We
you can
moved
get it
quite a
out
bit
and
of,
throw it in the pickup.
pallets inside.
Yeah, the stuff that we can move
So
by hand.
this is now gone,
No.
this,
This
in the
is
photo?
okay.
The tall,
No, the short pile,
Sides
the
are
trash.
This is yesterday, so,
our problem is we wanna
Okay.
throw,
Yeah.
we wanna throw the stuff out.
Yeah.
That's on the floor, but we can't drop
right.
a dumpster.
So this was out there before the drive parking lot and everything, it was there, existing.
Basically where the trees were.
Yeah.
Where all the trees
Okay, so they just moved it from the trees to here.
Moved it
Right,
from being
because
on
we
the
had to,
parking lot to there, yeah.
we had to move everything off the parking lot to allow it to be torn
We
out.
had time before the parking lot was dug up, we had time to bring in 3 30-yard, and we built it, you know, we destroyed pallets, built the entire thing out, hauled out.
There was a lot,
And it
there was a
was-
homeless
Yeah,
house
there was a
camp
guy
back
living
there,
back
there
there.
was a lot of stuff. We spent, we didn't just like close our eyes, we were out there sweating and we had full pants on and gloves and poison ivy and we spent thousands of dollars on containers and, we unfortunately ran out of time and we just pushed everything off the road.
We're not slobs, we want it to look nice,
Yeah.
we're with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put something together here and ask for the council's opinion. I don't think anybody is happy at the thought of having 2 containers sitting on the property, let alone the pallets and debris. So I think the council could pass a motion to negotiate for the amount of outside storage you need for pallets as per past practice, but with a number on the quantity. But I don't see containers being part of that. Personally, I'm just going by what I'm seeing and hearing here. We can, if the council or the board wishes, give Lynn authority to negotiate with them for the number of pallets and the amount of space that they can use in the future of our facility. And I think, as has been mentioned, if past practice has been that some pallets were present for your day-to-day operations, then I don't see that anybody here would object to that, especially since they're at the back of the building. But going forward, Lynn, is that practical for your operations?
As long as they're moved off and not in, right,
Stack neatly.
right.
Okay. Mr. Flood?
Along with that, what you're saying there, we gotta make sure we're in full compliance with the, Village of Oxford's
Right.
outdoor storage,
Right.
ordinance and stuff, so.
Well,
Before they can-
we have the village person here, and
I mean, that's, one of my concern is what is compliant with you, because they're saying, well, how many pallets can you store? Well, we don't know what you're,
Again, it's screening, so they can't be seen by the road.
I understand.
Again, 'cause I would bet almost every place down there has stuff stored out back. And that's just the way, it's an industrial park. So we don't have an issue with that. It's when it becomes debris / trash stuff, then it becomes a blight issue, right? That's a little different than stored materials or stored equipment. And then the screening from the street is,
Okay, that's what I understand, and you're mainly concerned, having screen and no debris.
Yep.
I understand.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we give them a certain amount of time to have this all cleaned up. And I would say I'd put a limit on, it looks to me I'm counting a limit of 50 pallets on the outside at a place where the manager says they can be, and try to keep that stacked neatly and cleanly, and 2 stacks of 25, so they're not real high. And then I hope that we don't wanna address this again for the debris out there, and I understand some of this probably is our fault because we're doing a
Not a matter of
parking
fault,
lot
you know.
and you can't get to it, but if it happens again, then that's a whole different story.
Yeah,
But
and
we agree.
we're happy to, if you guys wanna put that, and we can sign it, you know, and anytime,
And
you know,
then-
we go past a warning, we get a fine, or if you guys wanna do something to enforce
then
that, you know,
the
we're.
second part of my motion in there will be that we will charge them a little extra for putting the storage out there because it looks like there'll be wear and tear with a forklift
Second.
going back and forth.
I have a question, the village, what did you say about having these, shipping containers outside?
We don't have to worry about any setback issue because there's a 0 setback in industrial park. I mean, your building can be right on the line. So an outside building, whatever, or structure, or equipment can be right on the line. There's no setback issue to worry about.
Okay. There's no screening required on that either?
Raise your hand.
Well, if it was a storage container or structure, no screening. It's screening is more for materials or industrial, like
How about
backhoe.
I have a
compactor?
motion. and we have a second.
Mr. Curtis has got his hand up. Go ahead, Jack.
I heard nowhere in the motion that we're denying the request to add storage containers.
My motion was that we're not gonna add those. And my motion is they get to stack 225 height of pallets at the place where the manager says they can go. And they'll add the price to that onto, the lease, and there'll be no more storage. I don't wanna be stuck with containers when they leave.
Okay.
Was there a second?
Yes, there
Margie.
was. If you still with it, Margie? Okay. Lynn, do you have something that we can work with as far as a motion? Okay. Can you read it? Just,
yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm having.
Right.
The way I understand what the motion is right now is that first priority is to clean it up as soon as possible, that there will be no containers, that the company may have outside storage, price to be negotiated,
Limit of 50 pallets.
limit of 50
to-
pallets, 2 25-foot stacks. The manager is to locate placement of the pallets for storage, and
Come up with a charge, whatever that charge
Right.
is. I'm not sure if the board has a feeling on that or no, just something. Square foot. Maybe I can have Carl give us an estimate on what that value might be. Maybe you can give us an estimate on the value of square footage since you're the realtor.
outdoor
So
square
What are we
footage.
currently paying?
They're paying 5,000 a
Would it
month.
be the same price as indoor?
You guys have been bad. Joe?
I may offer a friendly amendment if you so accept. 25, 2 stacks, 25. How about we just leave the number at 50? 25, they're a little wobbly, a little stacky. That might not work well. You might need 4 stacks to accommodate that. I 50, I say yes. 50 pallets, okay, if that's the number. But to try to demand that they be 225s, I think is a little.
Well, I'm just adding,
In case they get, they're tall, right? 25 pallets is what? 12, 13 feet?
Yeah,
10,
it's like
15
6
feet?
inches a pallet.
So
per height.
that might be a little unwieldy.
yeah, it's about 3/4 of the way up of the stacks there, yeah.
If they're out there like, you know what, this is too much. We're gonna do it in 3, now they're in violation.
I would amend my motion that it could be a total of 50 with,
In the zone that's designated.
right.
And I'll amend my second.
We can keep it within 3,
I have one more
be
question.
reasonable, that way we're not.
I just don't wanna be in towers out
Yeah,
there.
right.
Mr. Curtis?
I have a Debbie Downer question for Joe Madore. You just went through a site plan review on all this parking lot and everything. Was there any outside storage identified?
I can't recall off the top of
Can
my head.
you do
I
an
know there was-
administrative review and approval of the outside storage rather than submitting a new site plan with it added?
Yeah, cause that's small enough, square footage wise, or the
Yep.
impact of the overall site. They
Just
could be done.
wanted to look out for you.
Yep. One of the concerns that come up through that was the ingress egress for the back doors and the traffic pattern for delivery trucks and all that, I know.
Okay, does everybody have a good understanding of the motion, such as it is? Okay. Technically, we're gonna authorize the director to work with the tenants to address these concerns. This motion will be to her direction. We're directing her how we want it done. And we'll move on from there. Lynn will handle it from there out, and if there's a problem, she'll let us know. So, all in favor of the motion to,
I think after
Okay.
roll call might be one.
if there's money?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll have a roll call then, Lynn, please.
Sure. McDonald?
Yes.
Brakefield?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Madore? Sarowski?
Yes.
Curtis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Kelch? Yes.
And I've got a question not related to the motion.
Yes. Mr.
Do we
Brakefield.
have to modify the contract?
You know, I think, as has been alluded to, it's not an uncommon practice to have some outside storage. I mean, even in the little village of Leonard, we have a situation like that, and it's pretty much normal, and it's not in public view, or at least hopefully it won't be. You think that's practical? We can do that, or no?
If it's on the side there,
We can either keep to the side or even between our, I don't know
the
where
two buildings or
I don't
something,
know
we'll
where the
figure
pad
s-
is gonna be for the gas tank, but, as long as there's clearance for trucks to get in and out of there, we can keep it between our two bay doors. But
Okay.
we can do a walk around and just figure
Yeah.
out where the good spot is.
Okay. Okay, so, the motion carried. You'll have to work with Lynn, and Lynn, you'll have to work with them.
oh yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thanks, guys, for coming. I
All right,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
thank you for coming,
Yeah.
and,
All right. Sure.
all right,
Yeah, that'd be great.
okay,
The alarm on my tag.
Thanks, everyone.
thank you. All right. Mr. Cooper, thank you so much for your patience as we worked our way through that.
It's
The real world.
The world we deal with anyways,
We're
yeah.
already running later than
So-
we ever do.
So again, I want to, on behalf of the board for NODA, I welcome you. We're long overdue, but it is really good to sit down and have a face-to-face, and I hope, I'd like to offer you the opportunity, if you wish, to address us and talk about,
Well, given that you're pressed for time and I'm long-winded, and I know that from, this isn't my first rodeo, I did make a couple of notes, and first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me in to discuss these issues. I'm quite frankly pleased to be with Oakland County. I started in March. This transit millage has been new for the county as well as for the communities, and they didn't have staff, so they started looking, and as an Oakland County resident, it seemed like a great opportunity for me. I'm gonna let our colleague back in here, your colleague. Unless you want me, shall I leave him out there?
Excuse? Even the front door.
And so, what's happening as a priority is that the millage is a countywide millage, and we're looking to provide the resources countywide in order to enable people to get where they need to get to. And Lynn and her team has been doing a great job for more years than I've been with the county, for sure. And what we're looking to do is to continue to work with you to find out what you need, how you need it, how we can help you. And an example of that is one of the items to be discussed on the agenda is a 2023 amendment. And so, although there was an agreement that had budget, and it was like, okay, what do you need? We gussied it up, brought it forward. As local elected officials, you understand there's a process of committees. So we're through one committee with what was asked for from staff, and I have to believe that we're going to be able to take that all the way through the Board of Commissioners so that the amendment will be in effect as soon as we can get it. It looks like it's going to be during the month of November, which will enable NODA to acquire additional vehicles which is good news for both the authority as well as the communities, because it provides more capacity to provide more transportation services, and that's what this is all about. We're also, and I'm looking on this agenda here, and I'll speak quickly, the 2024, as you review the information that we're kind of sending out, from when the original agreement was signed with NODA and WODA, OPC, we've had another operator come in. There was a little more conversation with the local governments in the southwest part of the county, and we're trying to keep an even hand across the entire county. So after having worked with those local governments and their operator was accepting of it, we've shared it with the other authority directors, that these are the things we're looking at. So Lynn has had it for quite some time, many of the provisions that we're looking at in 2024. It's an ongoing process, quite frankly, and we're still working through what the expectation is in terms of service delivery, vehicle delivery, and the budget associated with that, but that's all coming together, and I would call it cordially and congenially. We're not top down, it's gonna be done this way. We're trying to collaborate, work together. The community residents, your residents, are our residents. We're all on the same team. And so I'll stop there because of the hour, but I'm really happy to be here. And I know that there's some questions, and I'd be happy to spend as much time as you would care in order to make sure that you have all of your questions answered here and now. And then I've got my card for those who came in a little late. As I have more, I'd be happy to speak with the group or speak with you individually if you have questions offline, whatever works best for the board.
Thank you for that. Does any member have a question, or Mr. Brookfield?
If I remember, and correct me, maybe I was asleep during that time. During the last meeting, Lynn, you were doing a lot of the legwork, running to all of these townships, trying to talk them into it. And I think if I remember right, where was Oakland County when you were doing all the legwork? They should have been right there, and you should have been standing behind Oakland County instead of in front of Oakland County. Is that?
Basically, that was a topic of discussion, and I did, as you may have read the communication that I sent to Eli about that. I think since then, he and I have exchanged another email, and I think he got the point. And and Lynn assures me that it's working well. On my part, speaking for the board to hopefully a good degree, we are concerned about how the flow of communication is. Lynn represents us very well, and she's always looking to improve. And we, as a result, have improved as well. But it troubles me a bit, and since you brought up the 2024 contract, when I read the information, it was PEX seems to have set, the county seems to have set its standard at what PEX is delivering, and PEX is not in the same environment. And I mean, I understand that's your forte is transportation planning, but my point is that it's unrealistic to expect what works down there to work here. Maybe in the future, but I think you're accelerating us beyond what we can deliver, particularly for public use. And we haven't even reached that stage, although it's obviously part of the 2024 proposal. I have personally, and I think the board shares the concern that we can't do all of this all at once. It has to be a process that we can manage and has or provides some exceptions or takes into consideration special concerns. And one of them is Lynn prepared and showed us a budget as best she could that we would like for 2024. And we really don't get any feedback on whether or not I guess it's got to go through the commission process, but we really need to know sooner than later, whether or not what you're asking for and what we're saying it'll cost, how is that gonna work? I mean, if it's not gonna fly, sooner than later, we need to know. And frankly, we can't be driven by what the county wants exclusively. Can I give him an opportunity, Bruce, or no?
I just want, I just,
God, please.
I'm gonna, it's on the same line.
Please.
I'm a township supervisor, and I meet at OCATS with all the other township supervisors. On behalf of NODA, I approached one of the other township supervisors who, did not want the services that we offer, and I asked him why, and apparently, you know, that community is very upset about being forced to take on NODA, and they don't want us, okay? And unfortunately, we didn't really understand that, and we almost threw Lynn into the wolves' den over there, where it should have been your job to go over and tell them what the county is offering and explain that we could provide that, but I don't think we should be over there making us look bad because they think we're trying to take over their area. That's all I wanted to say, so.
Thank you.
And so let me start off by saying that clearly communications is the opportunity for us to all improve what it is that we're trying to achieve and how we get there. And then I couldn't agree more. There are 62 cities, villages, and townships in Oakland County. It's a geography of about 1,000 square miles with a 1,200,000.3. No two places are the same. And when we have introduced and we think the term we use is parameters or elements, the provisions of the agreement that are changing from 23 to 24, we've offered those for not as imposing them on the local operators, but as a point of departure for discussion, what works, what doesn't work. And I'm trying to touch on some of the points as I'm going through this. For example, the public services, the ability to not just serve the specialized client groups, but to run open door. And so within the agreement that we structured with People's Express, PEX, if you will, it was fashioned as a demonstration. They said we could do this for 3-4 months to learn how much demand is out there. There are some elements, detailed elements, that you have to really read through to get in there that says that the ability to carry and provide service to the general public is in lower priority than the primary long-term riders of the system. So the idea is it's an opportunity, if you have the capacity to take someone somewhere, and it was introduced as a discussion item with Lynn and the other operators. And so we're not saying that in 2024, on January 1st, you have to communicate to the general public, everybody calls and we'll take you wherever you want to go. It's, you know, what feels right for you, whether you need a demonstration, whether you want to begin it in the beginning of the year, the middle of the year. We all know that you can't carry somebody unless you've got drivers and vehicles, and the fleet is limited, and so we're trying to balance the parameters that we're asking for in the way of service as we move forward over time. So in direct response to, are we imposing this? I think if that's the perception, I want to clear that up. We have entered into what I'll call a multi-phase discussion and dialogue process to get to a proposed agreement that has to be acceptable both to you as the board, although I'm working more closely with Lynn as your representative. And then ultimately, I've got to be able to take it and present it back through my committees to my board. And, you know, part of what the county's overall objective are the things that we're talking about. Are we racing to get them done? I don't think so. Honestly, we're kind of pushing a little bit, but we're pushing with folks who are saying, yeah, we can do that. If what we heard was we can't do that, so I was at WODA meeting with their board on Tuesday, and they said, well, we're going to try in 2024, we're going to do a demonstration in Highland Township. So they're not doing public service throughout their entire community. they're limiting it to an area to see what it is, and that the contracts or the agreements, if you will, they're going to be structured in a way that we can agree to now. And if, for example, Highland works well and WODA decides that it wants to expand to a larger part of their geographic area for what they call Gen Pop service, we'll have to make an amendment. So there's an additional process that we would go through, but the point is that it's malleable. This is not etched in stone. These are words on a page at a staff-to-staff level, and I appreciate that the board's paying attention to it. And, you know, if you want to work, I'm here now, or work through Lynn, whatever is best for you.
Well, I was pleased to see that the commission gave you some latitude in budgetary adjustments, for one thing, because that stung us having to come back to 2023, and there being no other way but to wait on the county system to make those changes. So that was a much-needed improvement.
We don't have it yet, just, I don't want to talk
Oh,
over you.
okay.
It's proposed.
Oh, okay. I assumed it was a,
No, these are, so the current status of the documents are, the only thing that's happened is staff to staff has met. Based on conversations with 5 different operators, we've got I'll call it a final draft. We've sent that back to each of the agencies, operators, service providers. Is this something that's consistent with what we talked about? And then once we have that, then what'll happen is we will be taking that forward to our committee structure for our commissioners to say, yeah, they agree. So this is all still, I mean, if the interpretation was this is like a done deal, we're far from that. I understand there's limited time. We'd like to move quickly, but it's still all malleable.
okay. Margie?
Okay, forgive me if I just skimmed this 2024 draft. When you talk about offering services to the general public, are you talking about an on-demand where a person would have to call for that, or regular schedule?
No, so at this moment in time, the way that this is described, the discussion that we have had, is that it has all the same service parameters as your existing service clientele. So a citizen would have to call several days in advance, and it would be at the discretion of NODA if they have the capacity to serve that trip, and that they would be, and we put this into the agreement, that it would be at a lower priority than meeting the needs if someone has a medical trip or a trip to a senior center that's for social interaction, for food. Those are all the things that are the priorities that we're all saying, but the county's interest in the short term is to see if we run what we call open door under the exact same operating procedures. If you have extra capacity, run it. And then over time, we did go to the commission earlier this year, a couple of months ago, and received authorization to hire a firm to do a plan to project forward what we might be looking at 3 to 5 years from now with additional types of service. But again, that will all be engaging Lynn and Kim and Ann at OPC, among others, to make sure that we're not here to tell you what to do. We want to work with you. We want to work with experts that are focusing on what it is that they could do, looking at the technical things, to build out a system that meets the taxpayers' expectation. That's where we're heading, and we're hoping to be able to, work together all the way through.
The second part of my question is, Lynn, regarding the general population, how do you feel about that portion of it?
I think it's fine as long as we use that prioritization. I feel
Okay.
that if, as long as we're taking care of our seniors, disabled, low-income population that we've always taken care of, and
Okay.
use them that's a priority. And if we have excess capacity, I think it's good to use our resources and keep them. So I have no problem doing
Okay.
that with the prioritization.
Okay.
Well, that's reassuring.
It is, right?
Really?
That's,
Yeah.
that's like the core of what I wanted to get at.
'cause
At the
that's-
end of the day, Smart better step up and start coming out here to the north end of Oakland County.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, because I think at the heart of our organization is always gonna be that population,
Yeah.
and that's what I don't ever wanna lose that, and I never wanna lose who NODA is and the care that we give to our people. And if we
Right.
can give it to everyone, that's great. I don't, but I don't want to lose that. That's important.
So to the observation about SMART, I imagine that Lynn may have shared this with you, but SMART has a contractor that's working right now called Michael Baker and Associates, and they are doing a study of their service area. Part of what is been announced and they're working on already is service to the Rochester area, and then heading west from Rochester, not coming this far north. I would say that NODA is going to be the primary provider in this, and I'll use the expression, neck of the woods for the foreseeable future. I do
Right.
not anticipate.
I just, there's a lot of transit dollars that we're putting out there now with that such a high millage. And we're putting a lot of money into it, all of our, 3 of our communities. And SMART has never operated out here, but because they're getting such a big lion's share of that funding, I just think, there are certain routes, just one minor one that I can think of, that, routes that could be done out here that.
So, two quick responses. First, and that's why we're financially supporting NODA in terms of recognizing a countywide service. Since Lynn's providing service here now, if she needs more resources to provide more service, so there's value back for the taxpayers, we would like to support that. And then, as I mentioned, with regard to SMART, they've got a planning study underway. If you have recommendations, please provide those either through Lynn to the Smarter Mobility Program team, or feel free to reach out to them directly. I'm not going to try to
Right.
convey your messaging in.
Yeah,
But
I
please,
understand.
that's a way.
I did go to the Smarter Mobility meeting.
Right, and that's the way to get it on their radar screen. And then we, as Oakland County, will be a champion with you and for you if there's a valid, viable, fixed route type of service that SMART might deliver. But in the interim period, I say interim, could be for decades, NODA's
Right.
here, NODA's moving people.
Oh, and we do a wonderful job.
and we wanna help them do more of it.
And we're very glad for the support that we're getting from the county. I'm just saying that SMART's
no,
got an
I-
awful lot of money. They could bring a
Well,
road or
and
two
they
up.
have basically a separate funding mechanism through the commission than the rest of the communities have.
Well, no, actually, they are under the exact same
Yeah,
principle.
it's that
I have
0.595 mils.
I have
They're-
5.
Well,
So there was a pre-existing Oakland County Public Transit
that's what triggered
authority
the-
that paid them. And so, not I, because the agreements for 2023 were prior to my working with the county, but the county staff negotiated a contract very similarly worded to what NODA has with the county. And they are a contract operator to us in the same way that you are. As a matter of fact, right now, there are some hard conversations going on between Oakland County and SMART's leadership, because they committed to service in 2023 that has not materialized. We, as we did in NODA's case, we provided the funding for that service, and now we're kind of saying, you didn't serve us, we don't think that we got our value. We're taking that and applying it to 2024. I can't tell you how that's gonna work out, but I know that's where we're heading.
are we gonna see Oakland County Transit stickers on smart buses?
Yeah, it says so.
Out-
in this.
The answer is,
On smart buses operated by SMART.
the answer is, to that is likely yes. No one has told me that they won't yet. I've got enough experience to know that they're gonna make it a little more complicated.
Because we're watching. I mean, I'm not saying that in a necessarily negative way. I'm just saying,
So-
we're always looking for parity, and not increases per se, just,
Understand that, again, in the same way that you as a governing body direct Lynn as to what she can accept, that they have their own way of doing their business. But the perception, the perspective, the why behind the identification on the vehicle is my board, the commissioners, would like for the public to see that the tax millage is paying is actually delivering services throughout the county. And there's about 60% of the county population is in the smart district. And if the board wants for the people to know that their tax money is at work, there's gonna be Oakland Transit logos or stickers on those smart vehicles. I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen.
Well, the taxpayers are gonna remember that every time they pay their tax, that it's there, but that doesn't speak broadly to everybody being treated the same. So, that's my only point.
Well,
Okay.
at this point, we're trying to level the playing field, and as
not a
you
done
well
deal.
know, I can only go as far as the policy bodies will allow me to.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm sure Eli would like to get home before it's dark, and watch out for deer out here.
No, I
by the
appreciate
way.
that. The other thing I do want to address just briefly, in terms of the work with the adjoining communities that have been recalcitrant. So I started back in March, I think it was April, I had my first meeting with Independence Township staff. And
We heard about it.
and we talked to Lynn after that meeting, and then nothing happened for a while. Then we, Oakland County, came up to Groveland, and people were like, wow, we didn't expect to see, we heard we weren't gonna hear from you for 3 years. And I'm like, well, I wasn't part of whatever you heard back in the winter, but we're here now. And so in that meeting, the folks from Holly, more towards the western side of the north, started to talk to Kim. And then Lynn and the folks from Independence began a conversation. I'm not gonna tell you that I was there or that we created it, but the conversation ensued. And what we've said from the jump is, if you need us there, we'll be there. And we, because of part of what the conversation have been, the chairman of the County Board of Commissioners and the Commissioner for Independence met with about 10 or 12 officials from Independence about a month and a half ago. I had spoken with their staff at our recent transit forum, and I left a message for Jennifer. She's on vacation this week, and they're having a meeting that I've heard about next Tuesday, and I'm supposed to hear back where they're going in terms of their decisions. So that's as much, we are involved, we are engaged, and if you want us there, please, that's why I'm giving my card. We will be happy, because this is all our county, right? I'm not trying to, quote unquote, hide behind Lynn, or if she wants to hide behind, however it works, we want to make it work. We want to get the services out to the people, because the concern about we're paying taxes, we want service. We agree. We're all on the same page. And the only area where what we as the county are looking at is, I'm not buying a fleet of buses for me. Lynn needs buses to provide service. I'm gonna help fund those buses in order for the service to be delivered. But in terms of managing a program, that's my role. And if there are any issues, I'll be here.
Okay.
And Eli's been wonderful to work with, and their whole team, and Sarah as well, so I have to say
I'll
thank you.
put another $50 in the
Yeah,
account.
okay, no, he has been great to work with, so I appreciate that.
No, Lynn does a good job for us, keeping us informed. Unfortunately, we worry that she may be overextending herself, trying to help. And we jealously guard her time and efforts. So,
Thank you.
Lynn is like the folks that are, anybody who's in the business that she's in, you know, we're in the business of specialized transport, elderly, people with disabilities, people going to medical appointments that are weak. You've got to have a certain personality type and drive. And so that's why, as I've described, this is a work in progress. We're trying to get Lynn the resources she needs to do the best job that she wants, and she's more than welcome, and she knows it. If this isn't going to work, let us know. We'll adjust it. But I would agree with you. We have to make sure nobody burns themselves out trying to do everything for everybody at the same time. That's a fear.
well, it's much appreciated to hear it, Eli, and welcome and thank you for coming. And again, Lynn always conveys to us what's going on, but it was
It's
time
helpful.
to hear from you. So,
Thank you.
anybody else, everybody okay? we can move on, finish our agenda. You're welcome to stay, Eli, or exit. No offense if you.
Well, how much longer you guys got
Well,
to
it's
go?
good-
Snowplow policy. When it falls, you move it. I mean,
We just bought
No.
a snowplow for the first time,
Yeah.
well, just don't put it on one of the buses because the buses got to be moving.
or the pallets.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Well, speaking of getting things done, we have a 2023 amendment for the interlocal contract with Oakland County. So, Lynn, you want to address it? And
yeah, so you've received it. I know it was a little late today getting the information. Sorry, I was working with their team, trying to get this updated. So it is, it's basically, it's just the amended budget, the board has already passed. So it's all the information. So it's just what they have to then forward on to their commission. But it's basically to authorize me to sign on behalf of NODA to say that this amendment is okay, and we
Yeah,
can move it forward.
we have already approved a 3-year commitment. So the board, as representatives of the communities, can authorize Lynn to take care of it. We don't have to bring it back to each individual community board for approval.
Right, but we need to approve it first.
Yeah,
So I would move to approve the 2023 amended interlocal
I'll second.
contract
And to authorize me to sign.
and to authorize Lynn to sign it.
I'll second it.
thank you for that. Any questions on the motion? We better do a roll call, because it does involve a lot of money.
Okay, sure. McDonald?
Yes.
Brakefield?
Yes?
Cyrowski? Flood?
Yes.
Madore? Yes. Curtis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Couch just
Okay, motion carried. All in favor? And we'll note that Ann left at 5:40 prior to the vote. Okay, moving on then. Probably the one that Eli's curious about, as well as Lynn. Lynn, go ahead and give us an overview, and then we'll do what we got to do.
This is the 2024 budget, or exhibits A and B that goes, so we have a 3-year contract, but each year we have a funding mechanism that's approved annually. So this is basically what we had approved in 2023, but there are a few changes, and I've tried to highlight those in our agenda. One is that the discounted fare population, like what we currently do with NODA, is 60 and over, disabled or low income, but they are adding veterans to that discount fare and reducing the seniors to age 55. So, and that is what they're trying to, so that we're all the same amongst our providers, so that we all provide the same thing. And then also to offer a full fare for the general population. So the discounted fare would be $2 a ride, and if you go outside of our borders, so I know that last time we had talked about extending our borders to Big Beaver. I've since then brought them back up to where they were, to Square Lake Road, to have our existing borders where they were and have been consistently. And if someone wants to go beyond those borders, then it'll be $1.25 a mile is what it'll be charged for the discounted fare. And it'll be $4 for the general population plus $2.50 a mile. And that's again would be under the prioritization that we talked about earlier. So those are kind of the changes, and also I know the county also wants to be able to have their logo, which I think is in Exhibit E, that shows this Oakland Transit somehow on our bus, have some type of logo on there. And they've just updated a few of the holidays so that we're the same, that we are, having a life-sustaining service. So basically dialysis only on the holidays. Those are the big changes that I see. And then there's the budget, and the budget is the amount that the board had passed at our last meeting, our updated budget, and so that's what they've built into it. The other change that I see is that this year they gave us all the money up front. They're looking at doing a quarterly payments, which I think makes sense. So, and they've just basically, right. Yes.
I do have a question, and it's not to throw a monkey wrench in the process, but the outside boundary charges, if somebody wants to go from Addison at one corner of the county to South Lyon outside of our normal service area, I don't see that as a practical use of our resources. Can we put a mileage or an interconnection requirement? In other words, we'll go 5 miles at the most from our normal service area on I think logistically, it could be problematic,
Don't we
because you're
have the
taking.
right to refuse certain, trips?
I think so, but we don't have a policy on it. I mean, we can't.
No, we generally care, well, yes, and this is new territory for us, but I
Right.
think one area that we really haven't figured out what we're gonna do yet is cross-provider trips. So I think once we get our dispatch software, our new dispatch software, that we're all 5 of us are on the same platform, that we can track a ride across. We might have some places where we can meet and transfer. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet. That's something that, we've had a couple instances where we've kind of working together to try to get someone across providers, but we haven't really figured that out yet.
Joe?
I guess it's a stupid question, but if I'm 10 miles out, is it 20 miles? Cause it's 10 out and 10 back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's each way, so each way, and
so then
yes.
how do you, when you calculate that, as soon as they walk on the bus, say, where are you going? Well, you obviously know in advance, right?
Right.
But then, so then they pay the fare in advance before they even get on?
They would have to know with advance, like, when they book the trip, the dispatcher would have to calculate, okay, this is the boundary, figure out, how, from the boundary, or outside boundary to where they're going, would be the charge, and so then we would say, this is our fare, and they would have to be paid ahead of time, yes.
You give me an estimate to Naples? Just like an estimate.
At Mr. Brakefield?
Are we getting a little premature on this? It sounds like you guys are working on it right now. This.
Yeah, and that's why I'm
Just
saying, I'm not trying to
questions, just
throw.
say, here, Eli, take that one, we got a question, kind of put it in a little note and say, put that, it's not just for us, it'd be for everybody.
Well, and that kind of goes to where I was going, and that is that if we said to Lynn, we don't want our resources that far away. We're more worried about serving people locally and whatever. If we put a limit on it, I know you don't like hearing that.
Oh, yeah,
but
no,
but you also are responsible for trying to provide as much service to as many people at the best, most efficient cost and means. So I'm just throwing it out there because I think that's something that could bite us down the road.
Right,
And I just brought it up.
No.
So, and thank you, Eli.
Well, and let me just, if you will, Mr. Chair, part of this is there are certain medical facilities that go beyond the normal driving distance, and it is it's a financial cost to the authority to get the vehicle going further where you're not in a place where you can recycle it to serve another trip purpose immediately. So we're starting to get some feedback from the People's Express. They're the first ones that are actually providing this general population service. And they have not, so the financial piece is kind of a way to meter how much demand there is for this extra long trip. And there's not been a problem yet. Doesn't mean that there won't be one that shows up here. And what I would say is, these are the broad parameters. If you, as an authority, want to put a limit on how far you're willing to go, that doesn't show up in our agreement. We're not saying you have to travel countywide. The fact is, if Smart's coming up as far north as Rochester, maybe you go down as far as Rochester and it's a handoff to the fixed route provider. These are the devil's in the details,
Right.
but we're creating a framework to enable more mobility throughout the county, but it's a long way from being solved, 8 months after or 9 months after the millage adoption.
Yeah, you just fixed that one right there. So, I mean, that was the concern that I had, is we'd be stuck with something for a year that it's discretionary to a point, but we try not to disappoint. So.
Well, and so the piece for us as the county is whatever it is that we have estimates. The fact is that we believe that the general public is going to add about somewhere around 10% to your travel requests. That's based on experience in Livingston County, experience that people, so we've actually calibrated a certain number of vehicles we think that will be necessary to carry that, and we added it to the budget. If you want to say, well, we're not going to do the entire service area for the entire year, okay, tell us what you want to do, and maybe we'll make an adjustment. You wind up with 2.5 instead of 3 vehicles, changes the budget, but it's going to be a work in progress. And again, we're encouraging, we've got the carrots out, but we're not going to punish you if you say we're not there yet.
Yeah, because we've always been flexible that way. Lynn's given plenty of discretion on how things operate, and from our point of view, we just want the best for here. So,
I just
Mr.
ask one
Pearson?
question. When you do these transfers, where do you leave the people? If they come down from up here and you say, we meet somebody in Rochester at South Boulevard in Rochester, and then you're gonna have somebody else come up, do we just drop the
I want to be
person off?
careful as I say this. I'm going to look to Lynn and apologize in advance. I really detest the idea of transfers. To be honest with you, people have enough difficulty getting around, and as long as I've been in this transit planning world, that the emphasis is the one-seat ride. The one-seat ride. Now, that having been said, if we're not in a position where if somebody wants to go all the way to South Lyon, they're going to need to be handed off to WODA, right? The question is, where's that going to happen? You don't want me at Oakland County sitting in an office in Waterford to tell Lynn where she needs to meet Kim. They need to be able to figure that out based on the specific, where's the pickup location, where's the destination. Now, there are some models in Washtenaw County between Wave and Let's, they're trying to create a hub where they can actually do transfers. We're not even anywhere near that. We're just having conversation about how do we work well together? And then where that's gonna occur could be in a dedicated transit facility. Could be a county or municipal office. It could be, I don't know where, but I'm gonna leave Lynn and Kim to work with the individuals, and that again, if a facility's needed, we're gonna help plan for that, and we're gonna help provide the funding for that. But in the short term, my expectation is that there's gonna need to be, this is Michigan, by the way, winter's coming, it's gonna need to be a heated place where folks can be comfortable in the event that the handoff isn't perfect, right? We don't want to make people have a bad experience so that we all look bad. We want it to be pleasurable, and we'll do the best we can.
And the reason I'm asking is I have a disabled son who uses NODA, and he would like to go down and visit friends down in Royal Oak, but if he has to transfer, what do? You leave him on the corner waiting for the next bus to come pick him up? Where would you, we don't have any of that stuff.
And if it's the transfer to get to SMART, then we're gonna have to figure out where the SMART bus stops are, and that, we have a very good working relationship with the folks that are planning for SMART, and obviously we have their attention because we pay them, right? So if there are places that Lynn says, hey, we want SMART to meet us here, and they say we're not going to, we got a little bit of leverage to challenge them as transit professionals, why not? And then ultimately to say, you're gonna do it because that's what we want to have done.
Joe?
I'm the only one that lives in probably Genesee County here, and so I'm familiar with Mass Transit Authority up there over the years. Great operation. They have these satellite things. It's like, for instance, the very north end of the township, Forest Township, has a senior center in with their township hall. That senior center is the MTA stop. It works well. People come there, they come there once a month once a week for their lunch, and then they also know that they can go there. So it would have to be something like that, an official station, so to speak. Again, you're not gonna drop them off to 7-Eleven and say, enjoy your Slurpee, hopefully the bus will be there.
Well, that's how SMART works now. They got a little sign, I go down Gratiot, and they got a little sign, and there's 50 shopping carts there, and everybody's waiting to get on the bus, and then they leave their shopping carts on the corner, and then they hop on the SMART bus. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
like I said, you're not there yet, but that's one model I've seen work. For instance, if your senior center was connected to this building, maybe there's a lobby, a shared lobby, that's a.
Point
a notice
taken,
stop.
Joe. Point taken, definitely. Okay.
It's regular, right? That bus is there twice a day at 10 in the morning and 2 p.m.
Well, it's like a fixed route,
Yeah.
which we're not into at this point. Okay, Lynn. So we good?
Yeah.
for-
That's, this is the 21st.
So this is a draft, we don't do a motion to approve it?
We do,
or
we
do?
approve it because it's
So
a
you
draft.
give it to us 5 minutes
I
before
know,
the
but we-
meeting and.
Well,
We could also, no, I didn't, just because it was hot off the press.
It was in the
but-
it was,
yeah,
the latest version was hot off the press, but we had the original
Right.
in the packet.
But we could also do a separate meeting if you want to take more time to review it. They just need it before November, just, when was your date? Like November 1st or something like that is kind of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps moving, but early November, we have our committee meetings, that'll be in the second, third week of November to get to the boards for final approval at their meeting on December 8th.
Well, let me ask the board, is there anyone that has a mandatory language that would cover anything we've discussed?
I just have one question. I think it's, if you say that the rides, the discretionary rides are up to the manager, I'm okay with that because I know
Yeah.
that we'll be taken care of on this.
Right.
So I have no problem
Okay.
putting forth a motion that we accept this and that our manager will let us know if it isn't working out right.
okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Pearson,
I'll second it.
Mr. Brakefield. Are there any questions on the motion to approve
Exhibit
the
A,
2024 Oakland County budget and contract, and authorize Lynn to enter into them as presented? Any questions on that? If none, we'll have a roll call, Lynn.
Sure. McDonald?
Yes.
Brakefield?
Yes.
Cyrowski?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Madore? Curtis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the notice snowplow policy, which Lynn put in the packet. It looked good. It looked good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Ebony,
sure you're
like-
gonna get rid of the snow.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate,
We're
again,
definitely-
the invitation, and I'll be back more frequently, I promise.
Well, you're always welcome, at least as long as Lynn says it's okay.
She's really our boss.
You have a treasure there.
Don't think we don't know
We know
that.
That's why we're protecting that treasure.
Makes my job easy to have good people to be working with at the local level, so.
Safe home, Eli. Thank you. All right.
If you get lost, call us. We'll tell you how to get back, you know.
What was that phone number?
That's a Spark Bus.
Okay.
If you guys
All right.
could heat the parking lot, you wouldn't need
Yeah,
We should have thought of that.
yeah.
It's a little late.
Yeah, that's an environmental nightmare, as well
I
as
didn't
a
even think
mechanical
about
one.
Oh, I
outdoor
did.
in
Did
Michigan.
you? You should have said something. I didn't even think of.
New driveway put in it. I wanted my husband to do that.
Mr. Brakefield?
I read the snow plow policy. I agree with it wholeheartedly. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the NOTA
Second.
didn't even finish yet.
Sorry.
Have a motion. Thank you for keeping the meeting moving.
Thank you.
Mr. Brakefield, supported by Ms. Payne, to approve the notice snowplow policy as presented. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Parking lot update. I think we had one.
I think so, yeah, it's
Kinda.
supposed to be done next week, supposedly weather dependent, but, they're
Okay.
coming this weekend, and then they're gonna hopefully pave the lower level, next week and hopefully be finished, is what, yay.
Okay.
I
hopefully.
have a quick question. They removed all that topsoil and they had to take it somewhere. Was it good topsoil?
Yeah, I think probably, I don't know.
They should have paid us for it. We should have gotten something out of that topsoil.
Yeah,
Because they got money for it.
Who here that lives in a house has had
No.
topsoil delivered to their
My only
home?
question
I
would
just
be
got a whole
if
note
it's,
for
if
the
it's
note.
on, my only question would be if it's on an industrial site, I wouldn't wanna test that and find out.
Mr. Madore?
That's got just contamination in there from the automobiles.
The cost to excavate it and haul it out, I think, was pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Much more so than the.
I'm just
than that
saying, you know, they
100-yard
strip the land and then you pay for it to come back.
I
I'm sure
got an
they would
idea.
prefer to not strip it away.
yes.
Yeah,
That's a lot of that's contaminated, which we won't talk about.
Yeah,
Right,
if it was
right.
contaminated, we don't want it.
You got it.
I'm just,
I'm
I
gonna
don't-
ask Lynn if she would go back a little bit, then when the asphalt is in, everything is ready, we're using it. Would you kind of remind PIP to start getting that trash out of there?
Oh, sure.
Because now they
yeah.
they could just milk it. Oh, we're working on it. No, you get it out.
One thing,
I don't-
don't let them put an open top on that new asphalt, it'll go right through it. Never put that steel stuff on that
You
concrete.
know, the big bins, the
Yeah, it'll sink right in.
roll-offs.
Oh, yeah, no, I won't,
Yeah,
let-
no,
I'm-
no, no,
it's gonna
no.
go in the grass
Yeah,
area, I'm not gonna have it.
But I
in
think they
some-
got the message. If they come
Yes.
back again, it won't be so nice.
Right, right.
We were very nice to them.
Even though we,
Okay, we've had our update. There being no public present, I'll move on to receive and file the monthly rider mileage reports.
so moved.
Sport.
Ms. Payne and Mr. Flood. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Board member comments?
I just have one. No, Lynn and I are working on, with the county, apparently they're putting out, homeless people into Addison Oaks and Groveland Oaks, okay? And they've contacted Lynn to see if a NOTA bus apparently can pack up their tents and everything, and the NOTA bus and take them someplace for the winter. And then I'm sure you'll have to pick them back up and bring them back out. But anyways, I have Mike Spiz, I think Mike Gengel, I have Bob DePalma from Groveland Oaks, myself, and I'm gonna have Lynn come. It's gonna be at 4 o'clock on next Thursday at my office. And we're gonna get to the bottom of this. I have the parks coming and the county coming, and we're not gonna, say I have people that are moving in there, using that as the address, coming in to vote in Addison Township elections, saying that we are now residents of Addison Township because we live in the campground. And so now I have these groups that are paying for their camping there, these, whatever they are, and now they're saying there's great services up in Oxford and Addison, so you can go to Fish now if we bring you up from wherever to use the facilities here, and NOTA will take you, and NOTA will take you shopping, and we'll pay for your camping. So they stay the whole season there. And they have cabins there now, so they could stay for the winters. So
Mr. Madore?
I wanna put an end to it.
Most state licensed campgrounds have like a 14-day limit, even in.
They don't.
type
I
ones.
contacted them, they said
So,
no.
I find that.
It's a county park.
Yeah, but I would think that
The
the county
county
would.
should
you
put something.
Yeah.
Stay.
They've been,
You can't stay for 30 days, 90 days at a county park in Genesee.
But they're well, okay, that's the problem we have.
That is a problem.
yeah, that's why and then what happened, of course, you all know, they broke into our homes. And they ran out of money, and they broke in our homes, they stole the people's trucks and purses and everything, and they found them down in a crack house in Pontiac. And then our apprehension team tracked them, and they caught them in a crack house up in Flint, hiding out. And so for us, I just said, after the New York kidnapping up in by, what was that? That was right by just north of Albany. And the homeless got, they kidnapped the girl or whatever. And I said, and even the park manager up there said, this has got to stop. I don't know what.
Well, I would think it would be to our county commissioners, our
I've got
parks
them all,
commissioners.
and so far, nothing had happened until I finally set this meeting up, and everybody's coming now, and we've gotta put a stop
But
to it.
the Park and Recreation Commission is the one that operates the Oakland County Park and Recreation.
Manager of all the northern Oakland County campground, he's livid about it too, so he's on our side. He says, I don't want any of our children to be in any way harmed in riding their bicycles in this park. And we had all the.
It's a beautiful
We
facility,
had a
that
guy
park.
running a scrap yard out of there every day, going around, picking up scrap. We had a plumber, brought his plumbing truck, he lived there and did all his plumbing, worked out of there because he got evicted. And then we had the crack dealers, and then they were bringing all their crack friends out for parties at their campsite, and they're the ones that broke into the houses, and we caught them on video, and anyways, that's how we caught them. But anyways, just so NOTA got involved in this, because now they want to be residents and use our facilities. So, I'm just making you aware of
Keep
it.
us updated.
I think we should, maybe we need to talk about permanent residents as part of our overall mission.
Well, they're using that as they came into the township to register to vote, saying that they're permanent
And
residents
property
and
owners?
using the address of that as
Add the
a
quality.
background.
Well,
Well, but we have renters.
Refuse.
I wouldn't say
You
that.
know, people
There's no
living in the
address.
Okay.
senior centers and
That's what I
stuff
said.
like that, so we can't do property
come
owners.
up with an answer.
Yeah, I know.
We will.
Okay, Joe.
Just a comment now, unrelated to anything else. So I'm here, I was gonna come anyways, but then Lori Bourgeau, her mother's not doing well. She planned on coming, but she's kinda in a rough spot. And Dan Durham, our code officer's been there since many, many years. He all of a sudden had bladder cancers, had surgery. He was in my office today. They were going back in, so he's very sparsely, you know, that was one of the few things he's done in the last few weeks was that letter. So he's struggling too, so we have some holes in our staff.
Yeah.
But we're working still.
Well, I appreciate your filling in attendance. It was an important meeting
Yeah, I
for
didn't
a
know anything
number,
about the meeting
for a
till you
number of
called,
reasons.
so I'm
Yeah.
glad you called and.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just want to state for the record that when I was talking about smart with Eagle Eye, I wasn't trying to, I'm very happy with NODA. I think we do a wonderful job, and I'm happy the county is giving us money. I'm just talking as we move toward fixed route, and that's what I was concerned about when he said general population. As we move toward fixed route, I think that's where SEMTA needs to step in, because again, they get the lion's share of the funding.
But you're right, you know, we need our fair share, and somebody's gotta
That's
speak
right.
up and let him know
That's
that,
right. At the minute they start talking about fixed route, that's when we start talking to smart.
Well, the latest bulletin from newsletter from Oakland County, Coulter made a real big deal out of the fact that SMART added a bus stop in Bloomfield Hills and extended 3 of its routes
Oh, yeah, I saw
in
that.
68 stops out in Novi and Wixom.
Yeah.
And but when he started talking about the improvement, he said all of these great changes, ridership is up 20% for WODA, NODA, OPC, and People's Express. He didn't include SMART
Right.
in that statement. He did say SMART's routes is growing in Novi and Wixon on a daily basis.
Smart has
So-
not been giving their information. That's part of the contention, that the
Yeah.
county is upset with Smart because, well, they're saying, well, we don't divide by county, so we really can't give you data
That's
because
not
our
true.
data
They
goes
always
across.
used to.
So
Yeah.
they're not giving
I
them
used to
data,
work
so
there.
they're really battling with them right now, so.
They used
yeah.
to keep track separately because it's separate tax dollars.
It should be, but they're not giving them the data. It's like, we have to give them quarterly reports and all these reporting, and the Smart's not. They're like, that's what Eli's like, I'm so happy. It's easy working with you guys. You guys are easy to work with, you know, and the other providers.
I would
You're
really
too
like.
kind.
I would really like to see a fixed route to the university and then to Great Lakes Crossing from this community and Oregon. That's,
That was almost promised
It
to
was.
us.
yeah. And I think that's a very important thing that, you know, we all need to push for, that, you know, eventually Smart's gonna give us a
And if
fixed
the
route for
Lions
that.
keep winning one to the Lions.
One to Lions. Only if they keep winning.
Okay, Mr. Brakefield?
No one else wants to make a comment, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Sport.
Second.
All right.
Hungry?
They're in the arena right now. Staying
Was
out
there a
of the rain.
second? Is that Mike?
Mike Flood,
Mike,
yeah.
you better
Okay.
run.
Yeah.
Like,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Opposed?
guys. That's a new record.
I
Thank
think
you.
so.
Thank you.